The bathroom door swung open before Sophia could react. She stood frozen under the golden light. Water still dripping from her hands, her reflection staring back at her in the floor-to-ceiling mirror. The plush white towel she'd grabbed hung limp in her grip. Ethan Carter filled the doorway. 6 feet of sharp angles and cold authority. His tie hung loose around his neck, his jaw tight with exhaustion that hadn't quite settled into anger yet. Their eyes met. I'm sorry." The words tumbled out of Sophia's mouth, raw and breathless. "The downstairs bathroom, it's broken, and I didn't think you'd be home this early. I'll go. Right now." But Ethan didn't move. He just stared, his steel-gray eyes scanning her face like he was trying to solve an equation that didn't add up. "Who are you?" His voice was ice-wrapped in velvet. "Sophia Bennett. I'm new. I clean the east wing in the kitchen." She stepped sideways, clutching the towel against her chest. "This won't happen again, Mr. Carter, I swear." For 3 long seconds he said nothing. Then he stepped aside. She brushed past him, catching the faint scent of expensive cologne and something darker. Exhaustion, maybe. Loneliness. She didn't look back. Her small room in the staff quarters felt suffocating that night. The springs in the cot groaned as she sat down, heart still hammering against her ribs. She pressed her palms to her face and exhaled slowly. She couldn't lose this job. Not with Mom's hospital bills stacking up. Not with Liam's tuition due next month, but something else gnawed at her. The way Ethan Carter had looked at her, not with disgust or rage, but with something she couldn't name. Something that felt almost like recognition. Upstairs, Ethan stood in his bedroom, staring out at the city lights bleeding into the night sky. The glass of whiskey in his hand had gone warm. He hadn't thought about another person, really thought about them in years. But the image of Sophia Bennett wouldn't leave him. Those wide, terrified eyes, the defiance flickering beneath the fear. She hadn't tried to charm him, hadn't apologized a dozen times, hadn't looked at him like he was a god or a monster. She just looked at him. It's like he was a man. He drained the glass and set it down hard on the marble counter. This was nothing. A blip. A momentary distraction. But when he closed his eyes, he saw her face again. 2 weeks passed. Ethan told himself he'd forgotten about the encounter. He buried himself in board meetings and hostile takeovers, in conference calls that stretched past midnight. But his assistant noticed the distraction. The way he'd pause mid-sentence, staring at nothing. Then one evening, he came home early again. The kitchen glowed with soft light. Music drifted through the air, something old and melancholic. Sophia stood at the sink, humming under her breath as she washed dishes. Unaware she was being watched, Ethan stepped into the doorway. Silent, she moved with a quiet grace, her shoulders relaxed in a way his never were. There was no performance here, no mask. Just a woman trying to find a moment of peace in a world that clearly hadn't given her many. When she finally turned and saw him, her whole body went rigid. "Mr. Carter," her voice cracked slightly. "I didn't hear you. You're always here late." He stepped closer, hands in his pockets. "Don't you ever take a break?" She dried her hands on a dish towel, avoiding his gaze. "I don't mind. It's better to stay busy." "Why?" The question hung between them. Sophia's jaw tightened. She looked up, and for the first time he saw the weight she carried. The kind that left shadows under your eyes and made your smiles fragile. "'Cause when I stop, I remember what I'm working for. And that's harder than just working." The honesty in her words cut through him like glass. Before he could respond, his phone buzzed. An emergency. Always an emergency. He left without another word. But as he drove back to the office through rain-slicked streets, her voice echoed in his head. "Because when I stop, I remember." He understood that more than she knew. 3 days later, Ethan sat in his private study, a file open on his desk. Sophia Bennett's background check. He'd ordered it that morning, telling himself it was protocol. Standard procedure for anyone working in his home, but as he read through the pages, his chest tightened. Mother with stage 3 cancer. Younger brother in high school. Father dead 5 years. Medical debt exceeding $200,000. 3 jobs in the past year, all lost to company. Downsizing. She was drowning, and she'd never once asked him for anything. Ethan closed the file and stared at the rain streaking down the window. For the first time in a decade, he felt something shift inside him, something he'd locked away so deeply he'd almost forgotten it existed. Curiosity, connection, danger. His intercom buzzed. "Mr. Carter, your brother is here to see you." Ethan's blood went cold. His brother. Marcus Carter. The man who'd tried to destroy him once before. Send him in. The door opened, and Marcus strode in with that same arrogant smile, the one that had haunted Ethan for years.
"Hello."
"Brother," Marcus's eyes glinted with malice. "We need to talk about your little housemaid. Sophia, is it? Interesting choice. Tell me, does she know what kind of man you really are?" Ethan's fists clenched beneath the desk. "Get out." Marcus leaned forward, his smile widening. "Not yet. Because I know something you don't. Something about her that's going to change everything." The words landed like a blade between Ethan's ribs. "What are you talking about?" Marcus pulled out a photograph and slid it across the desk. Ethan looked down, and the world tilted. The photograph showed a man and a woman standing in front of a courthouse. The man's face was clear, smiling. The woman's back was turned, but Ethan recognized the delicate slope of her shoulders. The way her hair caught the light. Sophia, and the man beside her was Daniel Ross. The CFO Ethan had fired and destroyed 3 years ago for embezzlement. "That's her fiancé," Marcus said, his voice dripping with satisfaction. "Or rather, her ex-fiancé. The man whose life you ruined? The man who killed himself 6 months after you buried him in lawsuits and criminal charges." Ethan's throat went dry. "You're lying, am I?" Marcus leaned back, crossing his arms. "Do your homework, brother. Sophia Bennett used to be Sophia Ross. She changed her name after Daniel died. And guess what? She knows exactly who you are. She took this job for a reason." The words slammed into Ethan like a freight train. "Get out of my office." His voice was barely a whisper. Marcus stood, straightening his jacket. "Careful, Ethan. That girl you're so fascinated by. She's playing you. And when she's done, you'll be the one left bleeding." The door closed behind him, and Ethan sat alone in the silence, staring at the photograph. Everything made sense now. The way she'd looked at him that first night. The defiance beneath the fear. The way she never asked for anything. She was waiting. Planning. His chest burned with something he couldn't name. Betrayal, fury, and underneath it all, a twisted kind of understanding. He picked up the phone and made a call. "I need everything on Sophia Bennett. Everything. And I need it tonight." Downstairs. Sophia stood in the empty kitchen, her hands trembling as she gripped the edge of the counter. She'd seen Marcus Carter leave. Seen the cold, calculated look in his eyes. He knew. Her phone buzzed. "A text from an unknown number. We need to talk." Rooftop midnight. Her heart stopped. It was Ethan. The rooftop was a cathedral of glass and steel, the city sprawling beneath them like a sea of broken stars. Wind whipped through Sophia's hair as she stepped out into the cold. Ethan stood at the edge, his back to her, shoulders rigid. "You wanted to see me?" Her voice barely carried over the wind. He turned slowly, and the look in his eyes made her blood freeze. Sophia Ross. He said her real name like a curse. Or should I say, the widow of Daniel Ross. The world tilted beneath her feet. How did I find out?" Ethan's laugh was bitter, sharp. "Does it matter? You came here to destroy me. To get revenge for what I did to your husband?" Sophia's jaw tightened. "Ex-fiance. We never got married, because he killed himself before the wedding." Ethan stepped closer, his voice dropping to something dangerous. "Because I exposed him for the fraud he was. He wasn't a fraud." The words exploded out of her, raw and bleeding. "He made a mistake. One mistake. And you didn't just fire him. You annihilated him. You made sure no one would hire him. You destroyed his reputation, his career, his life. He couldn't take it anymore." Tears burned at the corners of her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. He called me the night before he died. Told me he couldn't live with the shame, and I couldn't stop him. Ethan's expression didn't change. So you came here to make me pay? Yes. The admission hung between them like a blade. I came here to hurt you the way you hurt him. To take something from you. But then she stopped, her voice breaking. Then what? Ethan demanded, closing the distance between them. Then you realized I'm human. Then you started to feel something. Don't. She stepped back, shaking her head. Don't make this about feelings. You don't get to do that. Why not? His voice was steel. Because you've already decided who I am? The monster who destroyed your fiancé? You did destroy him. He destroyed himself. Ethan's voice cracked, just barely. I didn't make him steal $2 million from my company. I didn't make him falsify records and put hundreds of jobs at risk. I gave him a chance to come clean. He chose to lie. Sophia's chest heaved. You didn't have to ruin him. You could have let him resign. You could have given him a second chance. I gave him a chance. Ethan's eyes blazed. He spat in my face and tried to frame someone else. So yes, I buried him. Because that's what happens when you betray me. The silence that followed was suffocating. Sophia wiped at her eyes, her hands shaking. I should have known this would happen. I should have stayed away, but you didn't. Ethan's voice softened, just a fraction. You came here. You looked me in the eye every day, and you didn't pull the trigger. Maybe I should have. Then why didn't you? The question hung in the air between them, raw and impossible. Sophia's voice dropped to a whisper. Because I saw you. The real you? And I realized you're just as broken as he was. Ethan's breath caught. Before he could respond, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, his face going pale. It's my assistant. Your mother was just admitted to the, heart attack. The world stopped. Sophia's knees buckled. No. Ethan caught her before she hit the ground. I'll drive you now. She looked up at him, her vision blurred with tears. Why would you help me? His jaw tightened. Because I'm not the monster you think I am. They didn't speak during the drive. The city lights blurred past in streaks of gold and red. Sophia's hands wouldn't stop shaking. When they arrived at the hospital, she ran. Ethan followed, his long strides keeping pace. They found Liam in the waiting room, his face streaked with tears. Sophia. The boy collapsed into her arms. They said she might not make it. Sophia held him tight, her whole body trembling. Ethan stood back, watching. Something inside him cracked wide open. A doctor appeared, her expression grave. Miss Bennett, we need to talk about your mother's condition. It's serious. We need to perform emergency surgery, but what? The procedure isn't covered by your insurance. The cost is $75,000. Without it, she has maybe 6 hours. Sophia's world shattered. I don't have that. Her voice broke. I don't have anything. The doctor's face filled with sympathy. I'm sorry. We'll do everything we can to keep her comfortable, but I'll pay for it. Ethan's voice cut through the air like a knife. Everyone turned to stare at him. What? Sophia whispered. Ethan stepped forward. His eyes locked on hers. I'll cover the surgery. All of it. Whatever she needs. Sophia's breath caught. Why? After everything I just told you, because your mother shouldn't die for your mistakes. Or mine. His voice was quiet, resolute. Consider it payment for the truth. Tears streamed down Sophia's face. I can't accept this. I can't owe you. You don't owe me anything. Ethan turned to the doctor. Do the surgery. Send the bill to my office. The doctor nodded and disappeared down the hallway. Sophia stood frozen, her mind spinning. Ethan moved to leave, but she grabbed his arm. Why are you doing this? He looked down at her hand on his sleeve, then met her eyes. Because maybe we're both capable of more than destruction? Then he walked away, leaving her standing in the fluorescent light of the hospital corridor, her heart torn between gratitude and guilt. Liam tugged at her sleeve. Who is that? Sophia watched Ethan's retreating figure disappear around the corner. Someone I don't understand, she whispered, but deep down, She knew the truth was far more complicated and far more dangerous. 3 days passed before Sophia returned to the Carter estate. Her mother had survived the surgery. Stable, the doctors said. But the word felt fragile, like glass that could shatter at any moment. Sophia stood outside the towering mansion, staring up at the windows that gleamed like cold eyes in the afternoon sun. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to quit, to disappear before this got more complicated than it already was. But she owed him now. Not money. Something worse, she owed him the truth. The front door opened before she could knock. Ethan stood there, dressed in black slacks and a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked tired. Human, you came back. His voice was carefully neutral. I need to talk to you. He stepped aside, and she walked into the foyer. The house felt different now. Less like a prison, more like a wound. They moved to his study in silence. Ethan poured 2 glasses of water and handed her one. She didn't drink, your mother, he asked. She's alive, because of you. Sophia set the glass down, her hands trembling. I don't know how to repay that, I told you. You don't owe me anything, but I do. Her voice cracked. Because I came here to destroy you, and instead, you saved the person I love most. Ethan leaned against his desk, arms crossed. So what now? You leave? Disappear? Pretend this never happened? I should. She looked up at him, her eyes red-rimmed. But I need to tell you something first. Something you deserve to know. His jaw tightened. I'm listening. Sophia took a shaky breath. Daniel wasn't just an embezzler. He was desperate. His sister had leukemia. The treatments weren't covered by insurance. He borrowed the money from your company intending to pay it back. It was wrong. I know that. But he wasn't evil. He was drowning. Ethan's expression didn't change. And you think that excuses what he did? No. Her voice hardened. But I think you could have shown mercy. Instead, you made him a public example. You didn't just punish him. You humiliated him. He lied to me. Ethan's voice was ice. He looked me in the eye and lied. And then he tried to pin it on an innocent employee. That's not desperation. That's cowardice. He was scared. We're all scared. Ethan pushed off the desk, his voice rising. You think I don't know what it's like to be backed into a corner? To have everything fall apart? My father built this company from nothing, and when he died, everyone expected me to fail. I was 24 years old, and I had vultures circling, waiting for me to make one mistake so they could tear everything apart. He stepped closer, his eyes blazing. I didn't have the luxury of mercy. I had to be ruthless. Because the moment you show weakness, people destroy you. Sophia held his gaze. And look at you now. Alone in a mansion, with no one who gives a damn whether you live or die. The words hit him like a physical blow. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Ethan's voice dropped to something raw. You're right. I'm alone. But at least I'm still standing. Are you? Sophia's voice broke. Because, from where I'm standing, you look just as dead as Daniel. The silence that followed was suffocating. Ethan turned away, his shoulders rigid. Get out, Ethan. Get out. The roar echoed through the room. Sophia flinched, but she didn't move. You paid for my mother's surgery. You could have left us to drown, but you didn't. So don't stand there and tell me you're some heartless machine. I don't believe it anymore. Ethan spun around, his face inches from hers. You don't know me? Then tell me. Her voice was barely a whisper. Tell me who you really are. For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then, slowly the walls cracked. My brother. His voice was hoarse. Marcus. He's the one who told me about you. About Daniel. He's been waiting for years to find a way to hurt me. And now he has one. Sophia's blood went cold. What do you mean? He's going to the board. He's going to tell them I've been compromised. That I'm emotionally involved with someone who came here to destroy me. And if he succeeds, I lose everything. The weight of his words settled over her like lead. When? The meeting is in 2 days. Sophia's mind raced. Then we tell them the truth. We tell them I came here under false pretenses, but that I never went through with it. They won't care. Ethan's laugh was bitter. Marcus will spin it, make it look like I'm weak. And in this world, weakness is death. Then what do? Ethan met her eyes, and for the first time she saw fear there. Real, raw fear. I don't know. That night, Sophia couldn't sleep. She lay in her small cot, staring at the ceiling, her mind spinning. Ethan had saved her mother, and now his brother was going to use her to destroy him. She couldn't let that happen. At 2 a.m., she made a decision. She found Ethan in his study, a glass of whiskey in his hand, staring at nothing. I have a plan, she said. He looked up, exhausted. What kind of plan? We give Marcus what he wants. We let him think he's won. Ethan frowned. I'm listening. Sophia stepped closer, her voice steady. I'll go to the board meeting. I'll tell them everything. That I came here for revenge. That I lied. And then I'll tell them I failed. That you saw through me from the beginning and kept me close to gather evidence. Evidence of what? Of Marcus. She leaned against the desk. You said he's been trying to hurt you for years. There has to be something. Some deal he's made, some line he's crossed. We find it and we use it. Ethan stared at her. You'd do that? Destroy your own credibility to save me. You saved my mother. Her voice cracked. This is the only way I can repay that. For a long moment, Ethan said nothing. Then he stood and crossed to a locked cabinet. He pulled out a folder and handed it to her. 3 years ago, Marcus tried to sell company secrets to a competitor. I buried it to avoid a scandal, but I kept the evidence. Sophia opened the folder. Bank transfers, emails, recordings. This is enough to destroy him, she whispered. It's enough to destroy both of us. Ethan's voice was quiet. If this gets out, the company's reputation tanks. Stock prices plummet. Thousands of people lose their jobs. Sophia looked up at him. Then what do? Ethan's jaw tightened. We use it as leverage. We show Marcus we have it, and we make him back down. And if he doesn't, then we burn it all down. The next evening, Marcus Carter sat in a private restaurant, a smug smile on his face. He'd waited years for this moment. Years of watching his brother succeed while he scraped by on the sidelines. But now, finally, he had the weapon he needed. The door opened, and Ethan walked in. Alone. Marcus's smile widened. Brother. I didn't expect to see you here. We need to talk. Ethan slid into the seat across from him. About the board meeting tomorrow? What about it? Marcus leaned back, swirling his wine. I'm just presenting the facts. That you've been sleeping with a woman who came here to destroy you. I haven't been sleeping with her. Doesn't matter. Marcus's eyes glinted. The optics are bad enough. And once the board sees how compromised you are, they'll have no choice but to remove you. Ethan reached into his jacket and pulled out a USB drive. He set it on the table between them. What's that? Marcus's smile faltered. Evidence. Ethan's voice was steel. Of your attempt to sell company secrets to Blackwell Industries 3 years ago? Bank transfers, emails, recordings of your conversations with their CEO. Marcus's face went pale. If you go to that board meeting tomorrow, Ethan continued, his voice low and dangerous, I release this. And you don't just lose your position. You go to prison. Marcus's hands trembled. You wouldn't. It would destroy the company. Try me. For a long moment, they stared at each other. Then Marcus grabbed the USB drive and stood. You win this round, he hissed. But this isn't over. Yes, it is. Ethan's voice was final. Stay away from me. Stay away from Sophia, or I bury you. Marcus left without another word. Ethan sat alone in the dim light of the restaurant, his heart pounding. It was done. But when he returned home, Sophia was waiting for him in the foyer, her face ashen. What's wrong? He asked immediately. She held out her phone, her hands shaking. Marcus sent this. 10 minutes ago? Ethan took the phone and read the message. You think you've won? Check your precious maid's bank account. See where the money's really been going? His blood turned to ice. What is he talking about? He demanded. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you from the beginning. The words hung in the air like poison. Ethan's grip tightened on the phone, his knuckles white. What did you do? Sophia's voice cracked. Daniel's sister? Emma. She's still alive. Still fighting leukemia? And when he died, the bills didn't stop. They just kept coming. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you took the job here? Ethan's voice was dangerously quiet. To steal from me? No. Tears streamed down her face. I took the job to get close to you. To find something I could use. But I never took a single dollar from you. I swear. Then what is Marcus talking about? Sophia's shoulders shook. I've been sending money to Emma. Every paycheck. Every dollar I could spare. And last month, when it wasn't enough, I borrowed from a loan shark. Marcus must have found out. Must have made it look like I was embezzling. Ethan stepped back, his face a mask of stone. Show me your bank records. Ethan, show me. With trembling hands, Sophia pulled up her banking app and handed him the phone. He scrolled through months of transactions. Deposits from her paycheck, transfers to a medical fund, withdrawals from a high-interest loan, no deposits from his accounts. Nothing stolen, but there, buried in the recent transactions, was a single deposit. $50,000. From an offshore account linked to Carter Enterprises, Ethan's jaw clenched. When did this happen? I don't know. Sophia's voice was barely a whisper. I didn't put it there. I swear on my mother's life. Marcus said the name was a curse on Ethan's lips. He planted it. Made it look like you've been stealing. Sophia sank into a chair, her head in her hands. He's setting us both up. Ethan's mind raced. The board meeting. He's going to present this as proof. Proof that you've been embezzling and that I've been covering for you because we're involved. We're not involved, aren't we? The question stopped her cold. She looked up at him, and in his eyes, she saw something that terrified her more than Marcus's schemes. She saw the truth. This isn't about revenge anymore, Ethan said quietly. Is it? Sophia's breath caught. I don't know what it's about. Yes, you do. He moved closer, his voice dropping. You came here to hurt me. But somewhere along the way, you stopped wanting to, and that terrifies you. Don't. Her voice broke. Don't make this into something it's not. Then tell me what it is. He knelt in front of her, forcing her to meet his gaze. Tell me you don't feel this? Tell me it's still just revenge. And I'll walk away right now. Sophia's hands trembled. I can't. Can't tell me. Or can't lie. A sob tore from her throat. Both. Ethan's hand found hers, his grip warm and solid. Then we fight this together. How? She wiped at her tears. Marcus has evidence that makes me look guilty. If we go to that meeting, they'll destroy both of us. Ethan stood, pacing. Then we don't go to the meeting. We go to Marcus. And we end this with what? You already used your leverage. No. Ethan's eyes hardened. I used one piece of leverage. But Marcus has been dirty for years. There's more. There has to be. Sophia stood, her jaw set. Then we find it. Tonight. They spent the next 6 hours in Ethan's private office, combing through years of financial records, emails, and encrypted files. The city outside the window shifted from darkness to the gray light of dawn, and then they found it. Oh my God. Sophia's voice was hollow. Ethan, look at this. He leaned over her shoulder, scanning the document on the screen. It was a contract. Dated 5 years ago, a deal between Marcus and a shell company in the Cayman Islands. What am I looking at? Ethan asked. Sophia pointed to a name buried in the fine print. This shell company. It's owned by Blackwell Industries. The same company Marcus tried to sell secrets to. Ethan's blood ran cold. He's been working with them for 5 years. Long before I caught him. It's worse than that. Sophia scrolled through more files. Look at the amounts. He's been siphoning money from Carter Enterprises for years. Millions of dollars. Funneling it through offshore accounts, enough to put him away for decades. Ethan's voice was grim. But if we release this, it tanks the company. Investors will pull out. Stock prices will crash. Sophia turned to face him. Then we don't release it publicly. We show it to Marcus. We force him to step down quietly, disappear.
Oh.
He'll never agree to that. He will. Her eyes hardened, because the alternative is prison. And men like Marcus are too proud to survive that. At 8 a.m., they walked into Marcus's penthouse unannounced. He stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, already dressed in a tailored suit. A cup of coffee in his hand. He turned, and his smile was pure venom. You're early. The board meeting isn't until noon. There's not going to be a meeting. Ethan set a laptop on the table and opened it. Because you're going to withdraw your accusations. Marcus laughed. And why would I do that? Because if you don't, I release this. Ethan turned the screen toward him. Marcus's smile faltered as he scanned the documents. His face went white. Where did you get this? Does it matter? Ethan's voice was ice. You've been stealing from the company for 5 years? Working with Blackwell to undermine every deal I've made. You didn't just try to hurt me. You've been sabotaging the family business. Marcus set down his coffee cup, his hand shaking. You release this, and the company dies. Maybe. Ethan leaned forward. Or maybe I frame it as a rogue executive acting alone. A cancer I cut out before it spread. Either way, you're done. You can't prove I acted alone. Yes, I can. Sophia stepped forward, her voice steady. Because I'll testify. I'll tell the board everything. How you planted evidence in my account. How you tried to frame both of us. And I'll back up Ethan's story. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Why would you do that? He destroyed your fiancés because he saved my mother. Sophia's voice was steel, and because unlike you, he's capable of change. For a long moment, Marcus stared at them both. Then his shoulders sagged. What do you want? You resign. Ethan's voice was final. Effective immediately. You sell your shares and disappear. And you never come near me or Sophia again. And if I refuse, then I go to the board. And you go to prison. Marcus's jaw clenched. You're making a mistake. The only mistake I made was trusting you. Ethan turned toward the door. You have until noon to resign. After that, all of this goes public. They left Marcus standing alone in his penthouse, the city sprawling beneath him like a graveyard. Outside, Sophia leaned against the wall, her legs shaking. Is it over? It's over. Ethan exhaled slowly. He'll resign. He's too much of a coward to risk prison. Sophia looked up at him, and for the first time in weeks, she felt something like hope. What now? Ethan's eyes softened. Now we figure out what comes next. But before he could say more, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and his face went pale. It's the hospital. His voice was tight. Your mother. Sophia's world tilted. No, she was stable. They said she was stable, Ethan answered, his expression darkening with every word. When he hung up, he turned to her, and she saw the truth in his eyes before he spoke. There were complications from the surgery. Internal bleeding. She's in critical condition. Sophia's knees buckled. Ethan caught her, holding her as sobs tore from her chest. I need to get there. Her voice was broken. I need to see her. I'll drive you. They ran. But in the back of Ethan's mind, a single thought echoed like a warning. This isn't over. Not yet. When they arrived at the hospital, the doctor met them with grave eyes. Miss Bennett, I'm sorry. Your mother's condition is deteriorating rapidly. We've owned everything we can, but what? Sophia's voice was a scream. She needs a heart transplant. Without it, she has maybe 48 hours. The word shattered her. How long is the waiting list? Ethan asked. 6 months, minimum. And even then, there's no guarantee. Sophia collapsed into a chair, her world crumbling around her. Ethan knelt beside her, his voice low. There's another option. She looked up at him, her eyes red. What option? A private transplant. Off the books. It's expensive, and it's not exactly legal. But it's possible. How expensive? Ethan's jaw tightened. $500,000. Sophia's laugh was bitter and broken. I don't have that kind of money. I do. She stared at him. You've already done too much, and I'll do more. His voice was fierce. If it saves her, why? Tears streamed down her face. Why would you do this? Ethan's hand found hers, his grip steady. Because I'm tired of losing people, and because you matter to me. The confession hung between them, raw and terrifying. Before Sophia could respond, the doctor returned, her face urgent. It's Bennett. Your mother is asking for you. Sophia ran. She found her mother in the ICU, pale and fragile, machines beeping around her. Mom. Sophia took her hand, her voice breaking. I'm here. Her mother's eyes fluttered open. Sophia, my beautiful girl, don't talk. Save your strength. I don't have much time. Her mother's voice was weak. I need you to promise me something. Anything. Stop punishing yourself. Pat on your... Her mother's grip tightened. For Daniel. For me. For everything. You deserve to be happy. I can't be happy without you. You can. Her mother's smile was sad. And you will be. With that man, Ethan, I can see it in your eyes. You care about him? Sophia's tears fell freely. He's complicated. So are you. Her mother's eyes closed. Promise me you'll let yourself love him. Mom, promise me. Sophia's voice broke. I promise. Her mother exhaled slowly, and the machines began to scream. The machines flatlined. Doctors rushed in, a storm of white coats and urgent voices. Sophia was pulled from the room, her screams echoing down the sterile hallway. Ethan caught her as she collapsed, holding her as she shattered. She's gone. The words were torn from Sophia's throat. She's gone. No. Ethan's voice was fierce. Not yet. They're fighting for her. Minutes felt like hours. Sophia sat in the waiting room, her body numb, her mind blank. Ethan stayed beside her, his hand never leaving hers. Finally, the doctor emerged, exhausted but alive with purpose. We got her back. She's stable. Barely. Sophia's sob was equal parts relief and agony. But the doctor continued, we're out of time. She needs that transplant in the next 24 hours, or we'll lose her for good. Sophia looked at Ethan, her eyes hollow. Do it. Whatever it takes. Make the call. Ethan nodded and stepped away, his phone already to his ear. Sophia sat alone in the fluorescent light, mother's words echoing in her mind. Let yourself love him. But how could she? How could she love the man who destroyed Daniel? How could she forgive herself for wanting to? 6 hours later, Ethan returned. His face was drawn, but there was something resolute in his eyes. It's done. His voice was quiet. The transplant is scheduled for tonight. They found a donor. Sophia stood, her legs unsteady. How much did it cost? It doesn't matter. Tell me. Ethan's jaw tightened. Everything. I liquidated my personal assets. Offshore accounts, investments, all of it. Sophia's breath caught. You gave up everything. Not everything. His eyes met hers. I still have the company. The house. I'm not broke. But I'm not untouchable anymore either. Why would you do that? Her voice cracked. You don't owe me anything. You don't owe her anything. Ethan stepped closer, his voice low and raw. Because the night I found you in my bathroom, I saw something I'd forgotten existed. Someone who wasn't afraid of me. Someone who looked at me like I was human. He reached for her hand. You came to destroy me, Sophia. And maybe you did. But you also saved me. Tears streamed down her face. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve you. I didn't deserve your forgiveness. But you gave it to me anyway. For a moment, they stood in the empty hallway, the world falling away around them. Then Sophia kissed him. It was desperate and broken and beautiful. A collision of grief and hope and something neither of them could name. When they finally pulled apart, Sophia's voice was barely a whisper. I can't promise you I'll ever stop hating what you did to Daniel. I know, but I can promise I'll try. Her hand found his cheek. I'll try to see you the way my mother did. The way I want to. Ethan closed his eyes, leaning into her touch. That's enough. Surgery took 11 hours. Sophia and Liam sat in the waiting room, Ethan between them, his presence a quiet anchor. When the doctor finally emerged, her smile said everything. The transplant was successful. Your mother is going to live. Sophia collapsed into Ethan's arms, her sobs shaking them both. 3 weeks later, Sophia stood on the rooftop of the Carter estate, the city lights shimmering beneath a sky full of stars. Her mother was recovering. Liam was back in school. And for the first time in years, the weight on her chest had lifted. Footsteps approached. Ethan joined her at the edge, his hands in his pockets. You're leaving? It wasn't a question. Sophia nodded. My mother needs me, and I need to figure out who I am without all of this. Daniel. She was silent for a long moment. I'll never forget him, or what he meant to me, but I can't keep living in the past. He wouldn't want that. Ethan's voice was quiet. What about us? Sophia turned to face him, her eyes clear. I don't know what we are, but I know I'm not ready to walk away from you. Then don't. I have to. She reached for his hand, but not forever. Just long enough to remember how to breathe without carrying all this guilt. Ethan's grip tightened. How long? I don't know. Maybe a few months. Maybe longer, and then. She smiled, sad and hopeful, all at once. And then we see if two broken people can build something whole. Ethan pulled her close, his voice rough against her hair. I'll wait, however long it takes.
Oh.
They stood there as the city breathed around them. Two souls scarred by the past, but reaching for something better. When Sophia finally left the next morning, Ethan watched from the window as her car disappeared down the long driveway. The house felt emptier than it ever had before. But for the first time, the silence didn't feel like death. It felt like possibility. 6 months later, on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, Ethan sat in his office reviewing contracts when his assistant buzzed. Mr. Carter, there's someone here to see you. Not taking walk-ins today. She says you'll want to see her. Ethan's heart stopped. Send her in. The door opened, and Sophia stepped inside. She looked different. Stronger. Her hair was longer, her eyes brighter. She wore a simple dress and carried a folder under her arm. Hi. Her voice was soft. Hi. Ethan stood, his pulse racing. I got a job. She smiled. At a nonprofit, helping families with medical debt. It doesn't pay much, but it's good work. That's incredible. My mom is doing well. Better than we ever expected. I'm glad. Sophia stepped closer, setting the folder on his desk. This is for you. A repayment plan. For the surgery? For everything. It'll take me years, but I'm going to pay you back every cent. Ethan shook his head. I told you. You don't owe me anything, I know. Her eyes held his. But I want to. Because I don't want your money to be the reason I'm here. Then why are you here? Sophia's smile was tentative, fragile, real. Because I'm ready. To stop running. To stop punishing myself. To see if we can be something more than our mistakes. Ethan crossed the distance between them in 2 strides, his hands framing her face. Are you sure? No, her laugh was shaky. But I think that's the point. He kissed her, slow and deliberate, a promise wrapped in hope. When they pulled apart, Sophia's voice was steady. This won't be easy. We've both hurt people. We've both been hurt. And there will be days when the past tries to pull us back. I know. But I want to try. She took his hand. If you do? Ethan's smile was small, but genuine. I've been trying for 6 months, Sophia laughed. And the sound filled the empty spaces in his chest. They stood together in the fading afternoon light. 2 people who had collided by accident and chosen each other on purpose. The road ahead would be long and uncertain. There would be hard conversations and harder truths. There would be ghosts to face and wounds to heal. But for the first time in a long time, neither of them was walking it alone. Outside, the rain began to fall, washing the city clean, and somewhere in the quiet spaces between heartbeats, forgiveness bloomed. Not the kind that erased the past, but the kind that made the future possible. The end.